think I'm going to go do a workout.
Yeah, right.
I dug a hole last night. My whole body hurts.
A whole body hurt.
Yeah, my whole body hurts.
Oh.
Puns for days.
I know that you're not like a huge baseball guy. Like, I mean, I know you have your one family friend that is a pitcher for the.
I'm a Giants fan. That's about it.
Yeah. Did you see that as of this recording? I think it was a couple of days ago. Hayden Christensen threw out the first pitch at a Cubs game. I did
actually see that. Yeah.
Did you see what his jersey number was?
66.
Yeah. I absolutely loved that.
The fact that like Hayden plays into that stuff as much as he does and as well as he does,
right? And
because it's not like he's like overt about it. He didn't go out dressed as
right
Vader to throw out the pitch or anything like that. But he goes out with 66 on it, and it's like, dude, that's great.
Right, exactly. It's one of those things where he got so much hate when the beginning trilogy came out, and I think it was more from a place of nostalgia than anything else for the first three movies.
Yeah.
And I think it was like going back. I mean, episode 3 is such a good movie.
You know, he absolutely loves what's her face that played
Natalie Portman.
No. The girl the Ray.
Oh, really?
No, you know what I'm saying though. Like he loves her because. Now everybody hates her instead of hating him. It's like,
that's valid.
He's like, oh, somebody finally took the heat off of me from the first episode.
It's one of those things where I don't know if I'll ever come around to 7, 8, 9.
You know that I won't because I've been so staunch about. I can't stand what they did with Ray in those movies and her abilities and stuff because, again, like the thing that I've argued before is. I could almost get to the point of going, okay, they created the dyad in the Force.
Right.
So there's a reason, and she's a Palpatine, whatever. I could put all the pieces together and go, okay, so everything lined up together, I can understand how she could be powerful, like super powerful. But the two things that I come back to is that, number one, she could not be as powerful as she was and do the things that she did intentionally.
Right.
Like let's ignore the fact that she stopped the ship in midair, which would have been an intentional move, and then blew it up with Force lightning, which was unintentional.
Right.
Let's ignore that stuff because that was a moment of passion, right? Okay, whatever. Like she fed into both sides of the Force at once. I get it. When Kylo dies and she continues to do these amazing things in the Force at her own will.
Her Force ability should have been
it should have been diminished.
Yeah,
like there should have been things that happened to her as a consequence of the dyad no longer being present and all kinds of things like that. Right. And they just, they butchered it. And I just won't come around just because I'm like...
There was so many good concepts that could have came out of the new trilogy.
Yes.
There were so many stories that could have come out of that.
They had the prime opportunity to do so many good things.
You have such good supporting characters that you focused on the wrong two characters.
Yeah.
I honestly think, though... that I'm starting to come around to the fact that I don't hate Kylo as much as I did when I watched the trilogy.
Yeah, I get that
because I liken it kind of to Hayden Christensen and Adam Driver.
Right.
Essentially, they're playing the same character.
Yeah, to a degree.
And it's one of those things where you look back at his progression. He went the way that Anakin would have went had Qui-Gon still been alive. He would have had that absolute power. He would have had that thing, but he had a scruffy nerf herder as a dad that didn't care. But like, it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, we've said it before ad nauseum, you take the mommy daddy issues out of Star Wars and you actually get good stuff in the Old Republic.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's the thing is like so many of the things that surround the Star Wars story now,
right?
Mandalorian, Andor, like so many of these stories that are coming out as a result of Star Wars, are phenomenal.
I mean, Rogue One
without all the mommy daddy issues things going on.
I think even though it kind of ties into it in a sense, but Rogue One was so good.
My big issue with Kylo Ren was that I think that they did him a disservice by giving him such an amazingly bad, like, or not bad, but like amazingly good in a sense bad guy voice when he had the helmet on.
Yeah.
And then the moment that he took the helmet off,
Adam Driver's voice. Yeah.
And no offense to Adam Driver. I mean, he's a great actor.
Yeah.
But he just, the transition from the helmet voice to the non-helmet voice was going from like this guy sounds like he could be the Sith Lord of the universe.
Oh yeah.
To what emo band is this guy playing in? You know, it's like
I mean, it's. I mean, you could say the same thing with Darth Vader in episode 6.
See, I disagree though, because Vader, when he took his mask off, the voice was still that of an older man,
right?
That had some depth and gruff to it.
If you follow the actual timeline, he wouldn't have been that old,
right? Yeah, I get that.
And
but he also was like burned and, and dismembered and all that kind of stuff.
In constant pain, but
yeah.
And it's one of those things where I think that's my only issue with the trilogy is the inaccuracy in the span of time. And it's a minor thing, and I don't necessarily...
In the newest trilogy?
No. In the prequel trilogy to the
episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, to 4, 5, and 6, because it's not like Obi-Wan is an old man, and it wasn't that many years after Episode 3 that Episode 4 takes place.
Yeah,
I mean not enough to see that age progression.
But you think about it, after looking after Luke's whiny self for that amount of time. It would age me too.
Well, I mean, I think it's more Baru and Owen.
Owen. Yeah.
I was like trying to like thinking really on my feet,
which were the ones that taught Luke to be the complaining whiny
right?
Little
Exactly.
brat that he was.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
anyways, I got a would you rather question for you.
Sick. Let's do it.
Would you rather have a rewind button or a pause button for your life, but only for mundane moments like awkward small talk?
Rewind or pause?
So like you could either rewind the conversation and make it less awkward, or a mundane thing like you tripped over a curb or something like that, or a pause where you can kind of like fix it really quick and nobody notices.
I'd take the pause for sure.
Really?
Yeah, because I you know me, I love awkwardness.
I mean, we thrive in awkward.
Yeah,
and
like I thrive in the moments in life where everybody else feels uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
There's some weird part of me that like super enjoys them, and so I think that like the rewind thing, you know, you'd be too tempted to take like the good awkwardness out of things. Whereas I feel like I would get injured less if I had the pause button. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, that's true. See, in my mind automatically goes to where, well, this was mildly inconvenient or mildly awkward. Maybe let's take it up a notch. And like,
yeah, how can I make it worse?
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
You know, like
I'd be down for that.
You get that thing where you're like running up the steps and you slightly trip.
Yeah,
it's like one of those things where it's like and then you're done. But then what if you could like make a grandioso dramatic event out of it, like trip and then like fall down, knock somebody's popcorn out of their hand or something like that. Like I don't know.
I like the pause thing because I've always thought about it'd be fun to have the pause deal for messing with people too, though, right?
Yeah.
So
like
it's
the
like
click, like the movie Click.
Yeah. But like you just think about like how much fun would it be if you saw somebody like I think about this instance a lot of times. There was one point in time where I was in a parking lot and there was a woman who was older, and I say older like she was probably looked like she was probably in like her late 60s.
Okay.
She was driving a vehicle. There was a father and a son that were with her. So it's her husband and her son that she had brought, and I think it was at Walmart, go figure. But like she dropped them off at the door and was waiting for them to come out and stuff. Well, not to pick on the guys, both morbidly obese guys. And when they come out of the store, she doesn't pull up to the door to pick them up, right? And the son begins to yell at and berate the mom. And I'm talking about calling her names and stuff to the point that I was sitting in my vehicle. I think I was waiting on Brooke to come out of the store. I'm sitting there with my windows down to the point that I got out of my vehicle and began to yell at this kid. And I'm like, don't ever speak to your mom like that again. Like, if you want to test me, like I say to people a lot of times, I got 300 acres in North Carolina. They'll never find you. Right. But this kid was so rude to his mom for not being up there to pick him up at the door.
Right.
That, like, I had to get out and say something to him. And I always think back to, like, moments like that where it's like, if I had the pause button, I could have, like, paused time and, like, pantsed the guy. So he's, like, mid-screaming at his mom, and then I unpause, and he trips over his pants, realizes that he's bare butt in front of the whole world and stuff like that. But, you know, like in essence to kind of like teach bullies and people like that, like a lesson or just to, that sometimes you would want to just mess with people.
Right.
Like you and I would definitely mess with each other a lot 100%. If we had pause buttons.
But it's also like my thought goes with that, like the Quicksilver thing where you're running around so fast and everything. And like the exponential force that you would create just moving somebody's fist like right in front of their face. Like they would like
knock them off their feet.
Well, no, like they would like punch through their face because of the force that you're doing a slight movement, but at hyper speed.
Right. That's
the same thing. Like you go to like put their finger up their nose and like they shove their entire brain.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would, I would probably do the rewind button just to kind of make things more awkward.
That'd be fun too.
It's like one of those things like, like if you're in an elevator with a bunch of people and like you like fart.
Sure.
And it's like, you try not to, and then you were like, okay, I'm going to rewind that and be like, anybody smell popcorn?
I imagine too the pause button thing though, of like, I pause and then can just disappear from a situation. It's
just do the peace out meme and just fade into
it's just gone. Oh gosh, and people's minds just melting when you're like you unpause and they're like, where did he go? That'd be hilarious to me.
And then they see you. It's a random person, and then they see you out somewhere else.
Yeah,
and then you do it again.
Oh yeah. How often you could mess with people with that, dude? I'd abuse that button so much.
Oh my gosh, just like the subtle ways to mess with people.
They'd have to put me some kind of limit on it. Like you can only use this like twice a day, so just be chill, bud. Otherwise, I'd be like, I'd go through my whole life like that.
Right.
Can you imagine somebody gets angry at you?
Oh my gosh.
They're like, let me tell you about all the things you did wrong today. And you just pause and you disappear. Right. You're like, listen, I just really didn't want to be a part of that conversation, so that'd be fun. That was a good question.
Yeah. All
right, let's fire this bad boy off. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Josh.
Recognize me? No? Well, I'm Josh. I got suspended from school because of Josh.
You're going to be there with me in every way imaginable, Josh.
Josh is truly in a trance, yeah.
I went to high school with Josh, and I can tell you right now, he's a terrific kisser.
Hi, I'm Josh.
Josh, these are people's jobs we're talking about, Josh.
Thank you very
much. Hi.
Josh walking in the door wasn't even close.
Josh, you are a muffin-snuggling pirate puncher.
Josh is a good guy. We can talk to him.
Please welcome Joshua.
Josh!
I asked you about this recently, and so I'm going to bring this back up now because I'm so excited about this one.
Oh, yeah?
I asked you if you knew anything about the VelJohnson Continuum.
Yes, you asked me this last night. Well, this would be as of the recording last night. So, and I don't believe I know anything about it.
That's awesome. So,
just the fact that like you have your legs crossed, you have your
I'm in my Dr. Josh pose right now. With this one, you're going to know who VelJohnson is already. I promise you. I'll explain in just a second. And you know these different parts of the puzzle that I'm getting ready to put together for you, okay? But you obviously don't know this theory is what it is, okay?
Right.
So here we go.
Okay.
You know the guy that plays Carl Winslow.
Yes.
Okay. His full name is Reginald VelJohnson. That's the actor's name, okay? So he's the lovable, no-nonsense dad from Family Matters. He also played Sergeant Al Powell, the cop in
Die Hard.
The best Christmas movie of all time.
Now I know. Okay, yes. Continue.
Okay, so we're going to go down this path, right?
Yes.
He also plays a number of police officers in various different movies and TV shows over the past 40 years. What if I told you that none of that is a coincidence? What if I told you that Reginald VelJohnson, the actor that played Carl Winslow, has only ever played the same character over the course of the past 40 years. Across sitcoms, blockbusters, and alternate universes, and that character is slowly unraveling in a world of his own making.
Go on.
This is the story of the VelJohnson Continuum.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So as soon as you went there, I was like, okay, yes, I'm 100% on board though.
We begin in Act 1, the catalyst, Ghostbusters. You might not remember that. He was a police officer in Ghostbusters. In 1984, a small but nearly forgettable role, VelJohnson appears as a corrections officer in Ghostbusters. To make things really funny about the corrections officer in Ghostbusters, when we're introduced to him, he is buying an armful of Twinkies, which comes into play later on in the Die Hard movies.
Right.
Something happens in the midst of Ghostbusters. He witnesses the supernatural.
Right.
A giant marshmallow god.
Mm-hmm.
An interdimensional rift. Ghosts everywhere. Chaos, right?
Right, yeah.
So this is no ordinary Tuesday for a prison guard, as you can imagine.
Exactly. Corrections officer, this is a little out of the ordinary.
That day in 1984 in Ghostbusters marks the beginning of the fracture of his mind.
Okay.
A split that's opened up by ghosts and goo and the horrifying realization that the world doesn't play by logical rules anymore, right?
Right.
So something inside of VelJohnson at that point in time snaps. And the only way that VelJohnson can really make sense of what's happening in the Ghostbusters world, and therefore his world altogether, is that he must become the order that he wants to see in the world around him because of the chaos that has now ensued from Ghostbusters and the giant marshmallow god and stuff.
Okay.
So, act number 2, Al Powell, trauma with a side of Twinkies. So, 1988, 4 years later, VelJohnson reemerges as Al under a new name, new city, but still a cop.
Right.
This time he's Sergeant Al Powell in Die Hard, a desk-bound officer exiled from the streets after, get this, he accidentally shot a child.
Right.
A tragedy that he mentions with an eerie calm in the midst of the Die Hard story.
Right.
But this isn't just backstory. It's a breadcrumb. He's haunted not just by his past, but by something deeper, something paranormal. He doesn't trust himself with a gun because he's seen too much.
Right.
He's heard too many voices that weren't there. He's smelled marshmallows in the night air when no one else could smell marshmallows. And yet, he's called back into action. Nakatomi Plaza, Christmas Eve,
Yep.
Hans Gruber, another amazing trauma, another fracture in the mind. Act 3, The Escape. Carl Winslow and the Domestic Delusion. After the chaos of L.A., our police officer runs and reinvents himself in Chicago.
Right.
He's a family man. He's a cop, once again.
The lovable Carl Winslow.
Yeah, right. That's right. He's the lovable Carl Winslow. And he cannot not be a cop, right?
Right.
He is the law. That's the way he sees it inside of his mind. And so he's a family man. But this time it's different. Or at least it's supposed to be different. You see, Carl Winslow is the persona, and his life is the world that VelJohnson has now created to continue to make sense of things and to try to create his perfect scenario to be able to live in as a police officer. He has a loving wife, he's got kids, he's got order, he has routine, everything seems to be put together, but something's off. His son disappears halfway through the show. His daughter goes upstairs in their house and never comes back down again. All kinds of things start to happen. His neighbor, a kid named Steve Urkel, refuses to acknowledge personal boundaries, almost like he's a supernatural entity from within Carl's mind sent to torment him. Carl's smile starts to crack. His eye develops a little twitch whenever Steve is around. He begins to yell more over the course of the show, if you notice. His blood pressure rises. His catchphrases become cries for help instead of comedy that it used to be in the beginning of the show. He's stuck inside of a sitcom of his own creation that he can't escape now. He's not living the dream anymore. He's hiding in his own nightmare. Act number 4. The pattern emerges. We start seeing it everywhere. VelJohnson always playing a cop. Always with the same mustache. the same growing weight of exhaustion behind his eyes. Turner and Hooch, Kojak, Perfect Strangers, Chuck, Girl Meets World, one after the other, even in animated shows, he shows up as the same character, same style. Is VelJohnson the most typecast actor of all time, or is he hiding in plain sight? Is each role that he plays just a coping mechanism, a therapy session for VelJohnson, a patch on the broken quilt of his consciousness? His badge doesn't change. His name barely does. But the settings shift like stage props in a delusion because the man playing the cop isn't acting anymore. Act number 5. The conspiracy deepens. I say people still call him Carl in real life. They assume he's a real cop because all they've ever seen him as over the years is a cop. And he, in real life, VelJohnson, plays along with this. But what if he's not just playing along? What if it actually is who he is in his mind? What if Reginald has been living a fractured life, a multiverse of law enforcement identities, all stemming from one day in 1984 when he saw something he wasn't supposed to? And what if he doesn't know which life is real anymore? What if none of his lives are real anymore? Look close the next time you see him on screen. Is that just a funny dad? Or a broken time traveler trapped in a loop of blue uniforms, bad mustaches, and unresolved guilt? Is Urkel just a neighbor? Or a metaphysical punishment? Is the Twinkie just a snack? Or is it his sugary anchor to reality? One man, one badge, infinite timelines. It's not typecasting, it's a warning. But don't worry, he's still out there, serving and protecting.
Oh!
Welcome to the VelJohnson Continuum.
I love it, and I hate it at the same time.
Yeah.
Because, oh my gosh. My head is in my hands right now because I'm, like, processing. Oh my gosh. Like,
I just love how much I just melted Josh's mind because, like, as I was putting the pieces together for that, you could see light bulbs like clicking on one at a time, and him going,
because, like,
"Oh my gosh!"
I knew like the whole
Die Hard and Family Matters tie-in. I forgot he was in Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
and all that other stuff. And it's
the Ghostbusters thing is funny because that's. So in Ghostbusters, Die Hard, and I believe if I remember correctly, it was either Family Matters or there was one of the other movies that he played a cop in that he physically holds a Twinkie in at least 3 of the different like major roles that he's played. And so, like, the Ghostbusters not being a major role, but in Ghostbusters, there's a point in time where,
right?
If I remember correctly, I think it is that
he was giving them to them. No,
he got the Twinkies, and Slimer takes them from him, right? Like that, he like envelops him or something like that. If I remember correctly, I may be remembering that wrong. But I saw the shot because I watched some of it. Saw the shot of him walking up to the counter holding like an armful of Twinkies, and then in Die Hard, obviously that's like a big thing. Like, this guy's all about Twinkies. He talks about them and stuff, but that just ties further into that the Twinkie is like, if you've ever seen Inception, how they have he has the top that he spins. People have a coin or whatever. They have different things that are like their connection back to reality, right? To know whether they're in a dream or in reality, and that's the Twinkie for VelJohnson. Is he has to have a Twinkie to know whether it's real or whether it's not.
When you said Ghostbusters, it also took me down another tangent in my brain. There's a theory in Ghostbusters that all 4 of them actually die on top of the roof.
I've seen that before. Yeah.
But it makes so much sense, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love those 2 movies. Like, they're
all the Ghostbuster movies were
so
amazing.
Good.
The old school ones?
And I loved the cartoon.
What was the big scary dude from the paintings name? I can never remember. Vigo.
Yeah.
I love the scene where Bill Murray is talking to the painting.
Yes,
to Vigo.
and he like slowly gets angrier and angrier and angrier.
And you see all the stuff like the ooze and everything start going like that. That whole scene
for an
is just
80s
phenomenal.
movie is
So
phenomenal.
So good.
So I have another story.
Okay.
This is actually a true story.
Okay. So we're flip flopping here.
So
from
conspiracy
theory of VelJohnson.
So I'm going to take you all the way back to the 1920s.
Oh, okay.
So if you
the
know
Roaring 20s,
the Roaring 20s. So with the Roaring 20s, we have a social experiment that went a little too far.
Okay. Being
Prohibition. The temperance movement started. It has grounds here in Ohio. That's one of the reasons why I kind of latched onto this, because Prohibition was birthed out of the temperance movement. I think it was the women's Christian temperance movement.
Yes, because it stemmed from religious background in that sense, but it was like a tie-in between the end of World War One with the rise of alcohol consumption as a result of that, paired with the religious side of things, like people who were uber religious at that point in time, also going on their bent about alcohol's from the devil,
the teetotalers and things like that.
So
we're gonna take you. I'm gonna take you on a journey.
Okay.
Picture in your mind the desert wind, a dusty main street. A man walks tall with 2 pistols slung at his sides.
Okay.
He doesn't belong in a Hollywood Western. He's real. It's the 1920s. And he was actually one of the most celebrated lawmen in America.
Okay.
His name was Richard Two Guns Hart.
Richard.
Because he carried around his 2 pistols. He raided bootleggers, busted stills, brought outlaw justice to the Midwest. But here's the thing. The history really doesn't remember him. Not the way it remembers others, like Elliot Ness and those, my mind when I think of Prohibition, my mind immediately goes to the fantastic movie The Untouchables. Yeah. So, but hearing his story, it kind of leans into that lore. It feels like it could have been a side story in The Untouchables. So his story slipped into obscurity, and only the last chapter of his life did people discover the shocking truth that he carried with him the entire time.
This is Richard Two Guns Hart.
Yes.
Okay.
So bear with me, because this one has all the elements of a legend and one of the greatest buried twists in American history.
Okay.
Richard wasn't born with a cowboy hat, obviously. In fact, he wasn't even from the Midwest.
Really?
He entered the world in Brooklyn in 1892. A city kid surrounded by immigrant families, noise, grit, and opportunity. He was restless. And like many young men at that time, he looked west for an adventure. So he had the ideations of, the Westerns, like he wanted to go out and be a lawman and things like that. By his late teens, he kind of just vanished from New York and kind of reinvented himself. He wore cowboy boots, a Stetson, and holstered 2 revolvers. He called him, he went by Richard Two Guns Hart. So
Richard. Sorry, I can't help but say it every time I hear that name.
So basically, he was very inspired by the Western silent films.
Yeah.
He wanted that 2 guns, not only because he carried 2 pistols at his hip, but strong, heroic, and very American.
Yeah. It sounds cool. Looks cool to have 2 guns.
So when he moved out west, he worked as a cowboy, a trick shooter, and even performed in Wild West shows.
Okay.
So, I mean, you have to think, like, the Wild West was slowly being urbanized.
Right.
So you have the fading out of the cowboys, the Westerns, cowboys, Indians, all that kind of stuff, and into the more modern 20s and the Industrial Revolution.
Yep.
But Hart wasn't playing dress up. He actually lived it. He became the man. And before long, he carried that Wild West persona into something bigger. Law enforcement.
So just to be clear, he differentiates himself from a lot of the other gangsters and cowboys from back in the day, because he's literally walking around like, I'm Richard Two Guns Hart, right? Like he's introducing himself with his Nomer and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to George Babyface Nelson, who didn't even like being called Babyface.
Right, exactly.
But that was a term that people gave to him because of what he looked like and so.
Yep.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure I kind of had the right personality in a sense.
So they would refer to him as Two Guns, like they would call him by his nickname and refer to him as that. So like he embraced it. He
pretty
loved
dope.
that. So Hart became a lawman in small towns across Nebraska and the Midwest. Homer, I believe, was where this really starts to take hold. Is Homer, Nebraska? At a time when Prohibition was taking hold, he found his calling. He wanted to go and bust bootleggers. So Prohibition was more about than just banning alcohol.
So he's trying to be on the law side of things. Like he's wanting to be a good guy.
Oh,
he's a white hat.
Yes,
basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was basically a war. Federal agents, sheriffs, marshals went toe to toe with bootleggers, and Hart, he became one of the most feared and colorful agents in the game.
Wow. Okay.
So he was a very predominant. I would say that he would be on par what we would think now as like Elliot Ness.
Yeah.
So like he would have been just as a recognizable name as Elliot Ness.
Right.
So
funny side story on that one is I've heard Elliot Ness, like his name growing up, like everybody does, and for the longest time I thought Elliot Ness, I don't know what it is about that name, made me think he was a bad guy.
Oh yeah, I mean I get it, but also he headed the bureau in Cleveland for a long time too.
Yeah,
which
I know
is really cool. Like I mean. But I absolutely love that movie. So imagine Hart riding into towns with his twin pistols on his belt, cowboy hat tipped low, looked like a movie star, but like in real life, he lived it, he breathed it, he was him, as the kids would say now. He was very real, and his raids were kind of brutal for the bootleggers. He smashed stills, poured out barrels of illegal whiskey, made arrests that landed him in newspapers worldwide. The press absolutely loved him.
Oh, I bet. He's a showman, right?
Yeah, he's a showman. He's and they called him Two Guns Hart, a modern cowboy hero fighting crime in the heartland. It rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
It's a great news story. For a time, he was a national celebrity. Some compared him to Wyatt Earp or Wild Bill Hickok, a living relic of the Old West, but aimed at America's new enemy, alcohol.
Interesting, yeah.
While Hart basked in his fame, something else was happening. Prohibition was cracking. The culture was shifting, and soon the spotlight on Hart began to fade. Because, I mean, as you go through, and I want to talk about this in another episode, just the quick rise and fall of Prohibition. There's a lot of wild stories, to say the least, that come out of Prohibition. Like
I did some reading on some of the Prohibition stuff not too long ago, and there are some crazy stories.
The fact that the federal government employed the help and the deputizing of the Ku Klux Klan during Prohibition is just a wild story in and of its own. But like we'll cover that. I want to cover that in another episode. So there was a story, and this is kind of where it kind of starts to turn down for Richard. So he was transporting a prisoner back to a bootlegger back to, I forget where it was, but he gets lost, and he ends up in a completely different town about 50 miles away. So he was going the wrong direction for a while. So he goes into a local establishment, and a guy asked him, "Hey, you want to buy some booze?" And he was like, "I'll play along with this. Sure." Right. And so he takes him to another place, which he promptly arrests these two people.
Right.
He takes them to the court, or to the sheriff.
Talk about picking your bad person to
offer booze to.
Yeah.
So he goes to the sheriff's department, and he ended up arresting the sheriff's deputy.
Okay.
Because he was one of the people
He's in on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it was a very corrupt, it was a very like exploitable thing for people to be bootleggers.
Meanwhile, the sheriff's deputy's looking at the other guys who like asked him, "Hey, do you want to buy some booze?" And he's like, "You guys are idiots.
Right.
What's wrong with you?"
So that was kind of the downturn. He worked with one of the local reservations while he was out in the Midwest, and he tried to stage a sting operation, basically.
Okay.
Where he had these two natives that went to a local person to try to set up a deal. The dealer obviously sniffed out the trap.
Right.
And then they came back empty-handed.
Gotcha.
So he decided to play the longer game and just sit there and wait. Well, him and his deputy, they saw people going and buying the booze, and then they waited until the deal was done. They followed one of the cars, thinking it was one of the people that were bootlegging.
Right.
And it ends up in a shootout.
Oh, okay.
And he starts to get frustrated, and he thinks he's shooting out one of the tires, and it goes a little high, and he ends up shooting and killing this driver that had nothing to do with anything. There was no alcohol. There was no.
So he killed an innocent person.
He killed an innocent person. Not only did he kill an innocent person,
if this person was innocent, why were they in a shootout with
So I think they just went to buy a drink, not necessarily buy like a lot of booze.
Right.
So had a drink, whatever, followed that car, or he got spooked and just was there and then left. So it turned out that he was a local hero. He was a World War I veteran. He was a dad.
Jeez.
He was a husband. So the public had an outcry that he should be put on death row.
Right.
When Prohibition ended in 1933, so this was kind of the downfall leading up to this. When Prohibition ended in 1933, lawmen like Hart weren't essential anymore.
Right.
The cowboy hero who raided...
Yeah, it's like, what are you going to do? You've been hunting down people that are bootleggers and stuff for the past however many years.
Right.
And now we're getting to a point where it's no longer illegal to have the things that they've been running all this time. And so all the bootleggers and stuff were now turning over into legitimate businessmen who are running alcohol production places. While that's happening, you've got all these lawmen who have spent their entire life trying to abolish alcohol and the people who run it and stuff. And so it's like, yeah, you're left kind of floundering out there and no real purpose in life, right?
So the cowboy hero who had raided moonshiners found himself out of place. He drifted into small towns looking for jobs, security work, old gigs. He still wore the hat. He still told the stories, but the glory days were gone. His neighbors remembered him as a larger-than-life but living small. He'd spin tales around his adventures, but some wondered if they were exaggerations, like any stories, things like that. Or was he just clinging to the myth? By the 1940s, Hart was a shadow of the national figure he once was. His finances were shaky, his health had declined. The man who once graced the headlines was now almost forgotten.
Wow.
But there was a real reason why he stayed in the background and kept his past so tightly under wraps. So here's where the story takes a little bit of a turn.
Oh, boy.
So you see, Richard Hart wasn't just reinventing himself as a cowboy lawman. He was running from something, or rather someone. See, Richard Hart wasn't born Richard Hart.
Naturally.
He was an Italian immigrant. His birth name was James Vincenzo Capone.
Really?
Does that sound familiar?
It sounds, well, the Capone thing sounds really familiar.
So his older brother, his name was Alfonso.
Al Capone was his older brother.
Al Capone was his older brother.
Really?
Yes. So he was a champion of Prohibition, while his brother was one of the biggest bootleggers.
Right.
And had a huge stranglehold on the Midwest.
That's crazy. They're opposite sides of the law.
So the kingpin of Chicago, the bootlegging overlord, public enemy number one. While Al built an empire smuggling booze, James, now Richard, was on the other side, busting bootleggers and smashing stills.
Wow.
Think about that for a second. One brother.
I wasn't expecting that. I was waiting for you to be like, the whole time he was running like the largest bootlegging operation in the background, but he's actually like, he legit was on the right side of the law, but he going under a pseudonym for the sake of people not associating him with who was really the largest bad guy in the world at that point in time, Al Capone. That's crazy.
So, and that's why Hart worked so hard to try to hide his past. So that's why he left New York. That's why he created this cowboy persona in the Midwest. So,
gosh,
He carried that secret for most of his life, only acknowledging it later after Al was in prison and the Capone Empire had crumbled. Basically, Richard Two Guns Hart died in 1952. He was 60 years old, living in relative poverty, far from the fame that he once had. He left behind a story that was almost too strange to be true.
Yeah.
A man who reinvented himself as a Wild West hero, a Prohibition lawman who became a national figure, and a brother who lived the exact opposite side of the law. The irony is sharp. History remembers Al Capone endlessly. Books, movies, TV. The name is immortal. Richard Hart, he's mostly forgotten. So how everybody found out that Richard Two Guns Hart was actually Vincenzo Capone was after he kind of fell out of good graces after the whole murder thing.
Yeah.
He basically went to his brother and been like, hey, I need some help. And like any good Italian brother, like, okay, you're going to work for me now. So he worked in the background, and during a court case, it came out that he was Al Capone's younger brother.
Wow.
So
That's
on
crazy.
national TV, when Al Capone was convicted for tax fraud, there was Richard Hart sitting in the background.
No way.
Yep.
That's nutty, man. Gosh. Can you imagine, like, if you're like an average citizen back then, and there's this guy who's been this champion of what seems to be all things good and stuff like that, and then you're watching a court case thing, and it comes out, oh, by the way, this guy is the most renowned criminal of our time's brother.
Yeah.
That'd be wild.
Yeah. As soon as, so this whole story of Richard Hart, well, I mean, true story.
Yeah.
Came from a podcast that I listened to, and this is also where the War Games, the Abel Archer story came from. This was a different season of this,
okay.
But this is one thing that I pulled out of the Prohibition thing that they did, and
that is kooky.
It sounds like directly out of a movie, like a plot to a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I'm still just kind of like flabbergasted by it because it's like, I don't know. Everybody knows who Al Capone is. Everybody knows, his exploits in a sense and stuff. But like to think about his brother as having been this champion for Prohibition, and then, man, that coming out later on and stuff like that would just be wild.
Right.
It's also interesting, just like his drive to create that persona in a sense, the kind of Wild West cowboy type of deal. That's all of that is fascinating, but yeah, it makes sense like why you would come out and be so like hardcore about my name is Richard Two Guns Hart,
as American sounding as you can be.
Oh yeah, as American sounding, and the Two Guns thing like really just kind of drives home like you're not going to remember me as anybody else. Like you're just going to think of Two Guns every time you see me in that sense. And so, yeah, that's a fascinating story, though.
I'm glad that we decided to blow each other's minds on the same episode.
Right. Two mind-boggling things. We got the VelJohnson Continuum, man, and then we got good old Two Guns Hart. Yeah. That's good stuff.
And like this is one of the I continually go back and re-listen to like that whole season of this podcast because it's such a fascinating piece of history.
Yeah.
That it was such a poor social experiment. Because and I want to get into like a whole Prohibition thing, how lovely our government treats us when they enforce laws that and they try to essentially poison your own population.
Yep.
But it's just one of those things where it's like you never hear. I mean, obviously, you never hear this story, but it's true.
Oh
like,
yeah,
it's not even like a made up legend or anything like that.
Right.
Like some of the stuff in his life when he was out west could have been fabricated, but yeah, he was a family man. I believe there was a part in there where his wife's family would still drink around him, but he looked the other way, and it was buried so far beneath everything that until when I was listening, I had about the same reaction that you did when in the podcast it said
they made the turn.
Yeah. Because and then it's like, oh, it makes sense why he wouldn't turn his family in or his wife's family.
That's crazy though. Gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been sitting on this story for a while.
That's good. I like that. I love the ones with a twist at the end. Like that. I used to listen to a lot of Mike Rowe did The Way I Heard It. You ever listen to that podcast?
No, I mean I know Mike Rowe, but
so I might bring some of those around and those stories and stuff because that was kind of the whole point of that podcast was he did the thing that was Harvey. They used to be on the radio back in the day. He used to do the stories. Paul Harvey. Yeah, Paul Harvey used to do stories that were like that where he would tell you this story of this person and the whole time you're like, they're like. Maybe some pieces that you would kind of go, oh, that sounds familiar, but I don't really know who this is. And then at the end, there's the big twist of, oh, and by the way, this is, X person that like as a famous person or whatever.
And that's the rest of the story.
Is that what it was? The rest of the story? Yeah. So, but that's how Mike did The Way I Heard It was he would tell you the same kind of thing with a twist at the end, and then he goes, anyways, that's the way I heard it. And then,
Paul Harvey would always end with, and that's the rest of the story.
Yeah,
because my grandparents used to listen to Paul Harvey religiously.
We did too. Like my parents and I would listen to him in the car and stuff like that. I used to love listening to those stories. But so that I love those kinds of tales that have a twist at the end of them like that. And I was thinking I might listen to some of Mike's previous episodes and bring some of those stories around because they'd be fun to kind of dive into as well.
I always love that. Like, and that's one thing that because I know we've talked about it. Like, I enjoy like horror movies and you don't, but I like more suspenseful horror and like that like creeping dread almost because it's not as predictable for me. Slasher horror, like that kind of stuff is so predictable. It's like, oh, this one, yep, he's first, second.
Yeah.
Like you can I can pinpoint what's going to happen when.
Yeah. If I have to watch a horror movie, I'm kind of in that boat. I would rather watch like Seven than I would rather watch something like Scream or whatever, where it's like, because like Scream, you're just kind of like, okay, yeah, they're going to have a twist of some kind as to who the killer is or whatever.
Oh, wait, it's two people.
But everything is so predictable in a sense that you're just kind of like, yeah, okay, yes, go into the dark garage by yourself. You're definitely going to live, bud. That's how this works. Like
I always harken back to the old Geico commercial where it's like, can people save a lot of money on switching their insurance to Geico? Do kids in horror movies make stupid decisions?
I'm going to go in here by myself at night.
It's like, why don't we get into the running car? Are you stupid?
Yeah. They're like, no, we're going to go in that shed over there with all the hooks and stuff hanging out.
The villain just like shaking his head like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, these kids are morons.
Yeah.
To close out on a lighter note, I've got a real quick would you rather question.
Okay,
and then we'll close this bad boy out. Would you rather have spaghetti noodles for hair or sweat hot sauce every time you get nervous? And yes, the spaghetti noodles keep growing, just like your normal.
Are they edible?
It says spaghetti noodles. I would assume so. Now, the question we have to
Can I have both?
The question we have to beg is, are they al dente or are they uncooked spaghetti noodles? Like hardened kind?
Am I looking, like, do I look like Fabio or Cynthia from Rugrats? Like,
yeah, right. Yeah. That was my initial thought with that. Was like, are they cooked or uncooked spaghetti
if they're
noodles?
cooked, man, I do love some hot sauce. Do I get to pick the hot sauce?
Sure.
Man, this food could really use some spice. I'm going to think of something make me nervous. Okay. It just like...
And my thing would be the rate of growth for the spaghetti noodles. If it grows at the same rate as my hair, then...
Whatever, that's fine.
It is, but it isn't. Because, like, if it's edible spaghetti, but it grows at the rate that your normal hair grows at, it's going to take you forever just to get, like, a bowl of spaghetti. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, because your hair grows relatively slow.
Right.
Now, if it was, like, I wake up every day...
Like the Santa
with
Claus.
a full head of, like
you shave your head and then it, like, immediately grows back.
I don't know if I wanted to immediately grow back, but if it was at least quick enough where, like, within every day or two, I could do, like, a full plate of spaghetti... Yeah. Then I might be down for the spaghetti.
I know. Like,
if it grows at the rate of my normal hair, I also still might be down for the spaghetti because then you could just kind of like shave every day and keep it gone in that sense.
Yeah.
I'd be bald. That'd be fine with me. My hang up with the hot sauce is I work out a lot and in working out, I sweat and the sweat runs down into my eyes.
But you said it was only when you were nervous.
Oh, that's true. You sweat hot sauce every time you get nervous, but still, if you sweat to the point where it like drips down your face,
yeah, like you're driving in the snow.
Gosh, yeah, and you're like hot sauce in the eye, and then you're just like dying. Yeah, and I don't know.
If I could figure out a way to bottle or profit off for either one of these, I think it's
yeah.
Josh's spaghetti.
You want some hot sauce? Quick, make me nervous and give me $5.
Yeah. Take a lick.
That gross. That's so gross.
No, it's just the hair on your head, right?
I think
like
I
bodily hair.
I would have to like always like 24/7 wear a headband, and on it I would just have it like stitched into it that says "I sweat hot sauce," so it's like it doesn't feel weird to anybody. But no, I think I'm going for the spaghetti noodles for hair.
Yeah. I think spaghetti hair is the way to go.
All right, let's wrap this bad boy up.
Right.
Tell the people what we want them to do.
So go ahead and do all the things. Hit like, hit follow, hit subscribe, give us some comments, give us some reviews. We haven't asked for any reviews lately, but if you're new to this podcast, hopefully our Linktree stickers and things have had their outreach, and maybe this is your first episode that you're listening to us.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
And just go ahead and give us a 5-star review. Honestly, we promise we are not conceited. The 5-star reviews help us to kind of get out there in the algorithm and let people listen to our crazy shenanigans that we have every week.
We definitely don't think that we're deserving of 5 stars. But we ask you to give us 5 stars just to help us out with the promotion of the podcast and stuff.
And it's one of those things where like we take criticism very well. Our facial expressions might not notice that we've taken the criticism very well, but we actually really do. Like there's a lot of times where people will say, hey, this episode wasn't for me. And that's okay, because, I mean, everything is not going to be for everyone all the time.
Absolutely. We've said it a lot of times before, too, that there's no one out there that's going to be as tough of a critic on us as we are on ourselves. Oh,
gosh, no.
And so please don't feel like you're going to hurt our feelings by telling us something that we need to change or do better on. We got tough skin and stuff. So,
right. Also,
cool thing is we have 17 ratings so far on Apple Podcasts, and all of them are 5 stars.
Really?
So we appreciate all of you guys.
Nice. So I think between the two platforms, we have a decent number. I mean, relatively speaking, for our percentage of followers.
Yes. Yeah.
Between Spotify and Apple Podcast, and I don't know about YouTube. I haven't checked our YouTube page in a while.
Yeah, YouTube. We actually have shout out to whoever you are, but we have 3 regular listeners on YouTube that are there every time. So some of our episodes have had like bumps up and stuff for different topics and everything that we've done. But yeah, we've actually got a few people that are like really faithful listeners over on YouTube and stuff. So
and like we always say every episode, we appreciate each and every one of you to tune in and listen to us kind of just be ourselves for an hour or so on your Mondays. So
yeah, we appreciate you guys being here.
Appreciate that. So like I said, give us a like, give us a follow. Make sure you like and follow on Facebook, Instagram, things like that, because those are 2 different algorithms that we want. You can do one and not the other. So, but we appreciate if you do them both.
Yep. And otherwise, we will plan on seeing you guys in the next episode. We hope you have an awesome week this week, and we will see you back on the next Monday with episode 37. Wow. Hard to believe.
Crazy.
All right. We love you guys. Have a great one.
All right. Bye.
Outro. Remember me? No, because the episode's over with. It's time for us to go.
Wrong part of the episode.
Yeah. We'll do it in the intro at the end, and the intro. See what I did there? Intro at the beginning. Shut up, Josh.
Because in and end are 2 different things.
Yeah, intro.
That's
INTRO.
Right, and then out.
END.
But it's out.
TRO.
Out.
I'm calling it the intro from now on, just to confuse people. So I'm gonna say them fast every time. You're never gonna know which one I'm gonna do.
Yeah, but do you realize who you do the podcast with? You're gonna confuse me too.
One of these episodes, there's gonna be an intro at the intro part and an intro at the intro part. Good luck. I'm in control of this ship.
I am the captain now.
Look at me. I am the captain now.